Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of Discovering Desire by Alyndra Quinn, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Derek. Will they feel betrayed? It's been 2 weeks since I met with Cillian at Club Wonderland. My brother, Zach, and best friend, Ashton, are in increasing danger with each day that passes. I tear my eyes away from the security brief Jax received from Cillian to stare into the depths of the amber liquid in the glass cradled in my hands before bringing it to my lips. The whiskey Z gave me for Christmas sears a path to my stomach, a momentary distraction from my whirling thoughts. Keeping the secret will be as difficult as the mission itself. Telling them will only complicate things, make it harder to keep them safe. Lucian Clareno, my treacherous half-brother, has set his sights on them since the lieutenants in the syndicate have lost confidence in his leadership. I know it's only a matter of time before he makes his move, and so I have to act. Tonight, I begin a crucial mission to ensure the safety of my family, even if it costs me their trust. My mind races with strategies and contingencies as I prepare to infiltrate Lucian's criminal organization. It's not facing my adversary that sends a shiver down my spine. It's the risk of losing those I love. Zachary and Ashton have just found each other, and I don't want to cast a shadow on the happiness far too long in coming for them both. But there's no room for fear in this game, only focus and determination. I set the glass aside as my tactical training kicks in and quiets my internal struggles. Opening the bag beside me, I remove the tools of my trade, an ECM device to disrupt any surveillance technology, and custom-made body armor to render me virtually invisible to thermal imaging systems. Tonight, my M24 sniper rifle will stay in the case. The battlefield of trust and loyalty may prove more challenging than any of the Black Ops missions I ran in the past. I make quick work of hiding the armor beneath my tailored suit, shaking my head at the absurd contrast of the stiff material beneath my clothes while I put my Italian loafers back on. Pocketing the ECM, I lock my office door and lift my chin at Sam to follow me down the back hall of Club Shattered Embrace. As we step out of the back entrance into the night air, ready to plunge headfirst into the shadows that threaten to consume us all, adrenaline courses through my veins. As we climb into my SUV, I drag in a breath and Sam looks over, an eyebrow arched in question. Boss? This is only the first step of 1,000. But once I take it, there's no turning back. Protecting my brother may very well ruin my relationship with him. I lock away my uncharacteristic emotional response and tilt my head, my neck cracking. Time to see who stays and who goes. He starts the engine with a nod. A half hour later, Sam pulls the SUV into a dimly lit alley in the warehouse district. The air is thick with the scent of diesel and rust as we park outside a dilapidated building. I reach into my pocket and activate the ECM. No sense in making the recording of this easy. We enter through a side door, the click of my loafers on concrete disturbingly loud compared to the silent manhunts I've conducted in the past. This is a different type of battlefield, perhaps even more dangerous. Inside, the air is thick with cigarette smoke and the indistinct murmur of voices. I scan the room, taking in the rough-hewn tables and chairs, the dim light obscuring the faces of the men gathered here. These are the lieutenants of the Clareno crime syndicate, and they have concerns about Lucian's leadership. I take the empty seat at the head of the table and scan the faces of the 4 other men seated. I may have called this meeting, but my guests will probably have more to say than I do. Good evening, gentlemen. Let's begin so we can get on with our evenings. One by one, they speak, their voices low and tense. Each one recounts a failed job, a botched plan, a mistake that cost them dearly. It's clear Lucian's leadership has led them down a dangerous path, and they're ready to consider other options. Leonardo Mancini, a burly man with cold, dark eyes and a scar running down his cheek, speaks up. We've lost too many good men under Lucian's command. The jobs he sends us on are reckless, and he doesn't care about the consequences. Marco the Hammer de Napoli nods in agreement, and I work to keep my face impassive. The silent motion carries more weight than all the words spoken at the table combined. Lucian's enforcer has staunchly supported him through too many fuck-ups to count, only a small fraction of which he couldn't cover up. It's not just the jobs. He's become paranoid, always looking over his shoulder, always suspecting someone's out to get him. It's making us all look over our shoulders too. Dom Greco concurs. What the actual fuck? Dom is one of the steadiest men around. His marksmanship nearly rivals mine, and I've long wanted him to join my team at Nightshade Security. I'm careful to keep my face neutral as I take in all the information from what they're saying and from the irritation in their collective body language. They're right, of course. Lucian's recklessness has put them all in danger. I'm here, after all. Worse, his paranoia is infecting the entire organization. But I can't show my hand this easily. I need to gather more information before I make my move. The men exchange glances at my continued silence. Their frustration is a palpable force in the dimly lit, cavernous room. They're ready to take drastic action, which could make my mission considerably easier if they're playing this straight, which is highly unlikely. Eventually, at least one of these men, or their seconds hovering in the shadows, will report this meeting back to Lucian. After each man has had his say, I sit back in my chair and meet their eyes one by one. I know these frustrations have been a long time coming. Coaxing will only get you so far, gentlemen. Are you seeking a more permanent solution? After a few uneasy glances, they nod almost in unison. What is it you're proposing? I ask. It's Marco who offers, we've tried everything to avoid this. Lucian inherited leadership from his father, but we're all Clareno. We've grown up in the family and devoted our lives to it. The family is ours to protect, even from Lucian. They're far more frustrated than I anticipated. I lean back in my chair and lift my chin in acknowledgement, but stay silent, waiting for him to continue, taking in the tense atmosphere of the room. These men have been loyal to Lucian and his father before him, but their patience has come to an end. It's clear they're desperate for a change, and they're looking to me for what? Guidance? Marco clears his throat again, his voice low and steady. We propose Zachary takes over leadership of the Clareno organization. He's the eldest son and equipped with the resources, intelligence, and respect to pull it off. I exchange a glance with Sam, who lifts an eyebrow. That's not an option. Zach has made very clear, each time you've approached him, he has no interest in being the head of the family. He's the head of the entire Ingram conglomerate, I say firmly. He must reconsider, Marco insists, but I shake my head. Not going to happen unless hell is frozen over. My brother is a Boy Scout compared to Lucian, or me. Putting the cards on the table is a risky move, but one that could pay off in the long run. I've been monitoring Lucian for a while now, and it's clear his recklessness and paranoia are putting everyone in danger. My brother has no interest in running the syndicate. Frankly, he doesn't have the skills or the stomach for what will need to be done. And yet, you're here, Dom observes, curiosity flickering in his dark gaze. I share your concerns about Lucian's stability. He's made a terrible decision to openly threaten my family, which will have consequences, I say, and watch the reaction to my deadly cold declaration ripple around the room. Dom leans forward and places his elbows on the table, staring me down. Are you saying you're going to take Lucian out? Assume control of the family? He presses. Lucian will pay for his stupidity, I acknowledge. The question is, if you're all committed to backing a new Clareno leader, this course of action, it won't be easy. And there will be consequences. My statement is met with set jaws and arched eyebrows, along with perhaps the smallest glimmer of hope. They exchange glances, a silent conversation among Lucian's closest men. My heart pounds in my chest as the course of my life hangs in the balance. Either I'm going to spend a few weeks scouting for the best opportunity to end Lucian through the scope of a sniper rifle, or begin the delicate process of rising to the top of one of the most notorious crime families in the world. Lucian may be head of the family, but these men and their loyalty wield the actual power. We're all in, Leonardo says, his expression resolute. Chapter 2, Justine. 2 weeks later. The club's bustling with activity tonight. There's so much to take in, so much to learn. I'm content to watch from the sidelines, taking in the sights and sounds of the dungeon. Observing what drives human behavior when people are stripped physically and emotionally bare is the passion I indulge inside these walls. Where shall I begin? Jordan, a popular switch, is front and center, commanding the attention of three submissives, Sarah, Mason, and Nolan. They're all kneeling before her, their eyes cast down. She always loves to play to the crowd and makes a show of choosing between them for an advanced lesson in orgasm control. Jordan's fascinating to watch. She's all lithe, elegant grace with a wicked sense of timing. Subs line up around the block for a chance to kneel before the woman who's been being mentored by the most sought-after doms in the club, masters Derek, Reed, and Graham. She's beyond ambitious, bordering on insane, trying to master each man's best skill, which I respect, life goals and all that, but it'll probably take at least that long, as wildly different as those three are. It's Graham, the king of obedience, who's standing in the background tonight as Jordan's voice cuts through the din of the club, strong and confident. Who's brave enough to go first? She asks, a playful smile on her lips. Sarah raises her hand, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Me, mistress, she says, her voice dripping with anticipation. All right. A wicked grin spreads across Jordan's face as she gestures for Sarah to stand. Come here. Sarah obeys, her movements graceful and fluid. She stands before Jordan, eyes down and as still as she can manage, while her chest heaves with anticipation. Jordan runs her fingers through Sarah's long blonde hair, tugging playfully at the strands. You've been a good girl, Jordan says, her voice low and husky. But I think you can take more. Sarah nods eagerly. Yes, mistress. Jordan turns to Mason and Nolan, who were left to kneel on the floor. You two, she says, her tone firm. Come help me set up, boys. You're going to test eager Sarah. Mason and Nolan rise, and along with Sarah, follow their mistress over to a large dark wood table padded with black leather. Knowing Jordan will draw out the anticipation as long as possible, testing their obedience, I gaze around the room again for something more interesting than equipment set up to watch. A sharp crack rings through the air, drawing my attention to the corner of the room where Reed's flogging a curvy red-headed submissive. Kristen is her name, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll cross-reference my notes to the club member registry tomorrow. She's bound to a St. Andrew's cross under a spotlight, her skin glistening with sweat. Reed's mastery of the art of flogging is truly mesmerizing. The way he wields the flogger, each movement calculated and deliberate, speaks volumes about his experience and skill. Every strike lands on Kristen's pink-stained skin with a sharp crack, and I can't help but feel a mix of fascination and trepidation as I watch her body respond to the sensations. Her moans grow louder and more intense with each blow, and it's clear she's being driven closer and closer to the edge of ecstasy. I take a deep breath, inhaling the scent of leather and sweat permeating the air, overriding my signature cherry blossom scent. The atmosphere at Club Shattered Embrace is intoxicating, making even those on the sidelines a little drunk with desire. Everyone is getting a different need met. Reed's talking to Kristen now, his lips close to her ear. In my mind, it's low, gruff, and soothing when he asks how she's feeling, checking in to make sure she's okay. Of course, I can't know what he's saying from this far away, but I doubt I'm far off the mark. Reed always takes care to go step by step through a scene, especially with newer members like Kristen. He's a complex dom, confident and commanding, but under the sex appeal, there's a gentleness to him too. It's not hard to understand why he's one of the most sought-after doms in the club. He essentially has a willing and eager harem at the club, although without all the communal living, force, and fear. Obviously satisfied with whatever's just happened between them, Reed sets the flogger aside. He opens his leather pants, freeing his impressive erection. The sight of it makes my body respond, a warmth spreading through me I can't suppress. Kristen's body is flushed with arousal, her breath coming in short gasps. Reed lines his cock up between her thighs, held wide by her restraints, grips her hips, and drives into her. Each thrust is forceful and deliberate, his ass flexing with every movement. Kristen's face radiates bliss, her eyes closed as she surrenders herself to the pleasure. Her moans crescendo, her body trembling as she approaches her climax. Reed's own breathing becomes ragged, his movements growing urgent as he chases his own release. Finally, with a loud cry, Kristen climaxes. Her body convulses, every muscle straining as she rides out the waves of pleasure. He follows soon after, his own orgasm shaking his body as he buries himself deep inside her. For a moment, they remain like that, their bodies entwined as they catch their breath. Then, slowly, Reed pulls away, his movements gentle as he unties Kristen from the cross. She slumps onto his shoulder, her body limp and sated. It was beautiful the way they moved together. How they seemed to understand each other's needs without even speaking is truly remarkable. It's a level of intimacy I've never experienced before, and I can't help but feel a little envious.